the shadow in the corner of my room. And the truth behind it, I was around 16 when it all started. I had always been a skeptic, the type who laughed at ghost stories and dismissed everything as overactive imaginations. But that all changed the night I saw something that I cannot explain. It was a typical Friday night, and I was in my room, scrolling through Reddit. My parents were out, and my little brother was staying at a friend's house for the weekend. It was just me, alone in the house. The lights were dim, with only my desk lamp illuminating my room. I'd gotten used to the silence, but that night, it felt off. The air was heavy, as if it was thick with something I couldn't see. I kept glancing toward the corner of my room. Something was wrong, though I couldn't put my finger on it. It wasn't until I looked up from my screen that I saw it, a black, shadowy figure standing in the corner, barely visible in the dim light. I blinked a few times, thinking my eyes were playing tricks on me. But no, it was real. The figure was almost humanoid, but not quite. It was more like a silhouette of a person, but distorted, blurry, like something out of a nightmare. I froze. My heart was pounding in my chest. It felt like I was trapped in time, unable to move or scream. I stared at it for what felt like forever, but in reality, it was only a few seconds. Then, it slowly moved. It didn't walk, though, more like it slid across the wall toward me, inching closer. I snapped out of my paralysis and bolted out of my chair, running to my door. But as I turned the knob to escape, it slammed shut on its own. Panic set in. My breath was shallow, and my hands were shaking uncontrollably. I tried to open the door again, but it wouldn't budge. Behind me, I could hear the soft, almost imperceptible sound of breathing, a slow, steady inhale that sent chills down my spine. I thought of calling my parents, but the phone wouldn't work. It was as if the signal had been cut off. I thought about jumping out of the window, but it was too far to drop without breaking something, maybe even worse. So, I did the only thing I could think of. I grabbed the baseball bat that I kept by my bed, turned to face the corner, and swung it hard. There was nothing there. The corner was empty. But as I slowly lowered the bat, I saw something I couldn't unsee, a dark figure, still blurry, standing directly behind me in the reflection of my mirror. I turned around, but there was nothing there again. I was alone, and the room was eerily still. I didn't sleep at all that night. I stayed up, eyes darting around my room, waiting for something, anything, to happen. The next morning, my parents came home, and I tried to tell them what happened. Of course, they thought it was a nightmare or maybe me just messing with my own mind. But that's not the worst part. The worst part came later, when I decided to look into the history of the house. It wasn't something I thought of at first, but I was desperate for answers. Turns out, the house was built on land that was once owned by a family who mysteriously disappeared. The strange thing was, their disappearance was never fully investigated. It was chalked up to some tragic accident. But what caught my attention the most was a journal entry I found in a local newspaper's archives, detailing a series of bizarre events that had happened in the area decades ago, strange disappearances, sightings of shadowy figures, and even reports of people hearing breathing noises in their rooms, like they were being watched. There's something else too. One of the last known residents of the land, a man named Paul Edwards, had gone insane after living in the house for only a few months. He was found wandering the streets, muttering about something he called the Watcher, a shadow that would corner him in his own home. I don't know what I saw that night, and I still don't understand it. But after reading those articles, I'm not sure I want to. Maybe it's all in my head. Maybe it's just coincidence. But I don't think so. The real kicker? After everything calmed down, after I thought the nightmare was over, I found something on my wall, something I hadn't noticed before. A single mark, like a handprint, smeared with black ink, high up in the corner. I'm not alone, and now, I can't shake the feeling that whatever was in my room that night, whatever is still watching, isn't done with me yet.